In a world gripped by war, lies, and power, one man dared to write the truth. George Orwell, the mind behind 1984 and Animal Farm, wasn't just a writer. He was a rebel with a pen. From the trenches of the Spanish Civil War to the pages that warned us of Big Brother, Orwell's life was a battle for freedom and honesty. Stay tuned to discover the man who exposed the power of propaganda and paid the price for telling the truth. George Orwell was not just an author. He was a fierce critic of power, a defender of truth, and a visionary whose works remain chillingly relevant in today's world. Best known for his novels Animal Farm and 1984, Orwell's life was filled with experiences that shaped his uncompromising views on politics, society, and human nature. Early life and education. George Orwell was born Eric Arthur Blair on June 25, 1903, in Motihari, Bihar, India, during the British Raj. His father, Richard Blair, was a British colonial civil servant, and his mother, Ida Mabel, took young Eric to England when he was just a year old. Eric showed signs of a brilliant mind early on and won a scholarship to Eton College, one of England's most prestigious schools. Though he was intelligent, he wasn't a top student and often felt like an outsider, experiences that deeply influenced his later work. Colonial service in Burma. After finishing his education, Orwell joined the Indian Imperial Police in Burma, now Myanmar, in 1922. His 5 years in the colonial force exposed him to the injustices of imperialism. He later resigned and returned to England, disillusioned and guilt-ridden. This period formed the basis for his first novel, Burmese Days, 1934, and essays like Shooting an Elephant, where he reflects on the moral conflict of being an oppressor within the empire. Life of poverty and struggle. Orwell rejected the privileges of his background and chose to live among the poor to understand their lives firsthand. He lived in London and Paris, working low-paying jobs and even living homeless at times. These experiences inspired his semi-autobiographical book Down and Out in Paris and London, 1933, published under the pen name George Orwell for the first time. He chose the name George for its Englishness, and Orwell after the River Orwell in Suffolk. Political awakening and Spanish Civil War. In 1936, Orwell traveled to Spain to fight in the Spanish Civil War on the side of the leftist Republicans against the fascist forces of General Francisco Franco. He joined a Marxist militia but soon found himself betrayed by internal communist factions supported by the Soviet Union. Orwell was wounded in the throat by a sniper and had to flee Spain. His experience of propaganda, betrayal, and political repression turned him against both fascism and Stalinist communism. He documented this in his powerful memoir, Homage to Catalonia, 1938. Rise as a writer. Throughout the 1930s and 40s, Orwell continued writing essays, reviews, and books. He became known for his clear prose and sharp political insight. Some of his important works from this period include The Road to Wigan Pier, 1937, a powerful look at working-class life in northern England. Coming Up for Air, 1939, a nostalgic yet uneasy reflection on pre-war England. Animal Farm, 1945. In 1945, Orwell published Animal Farm, a political allegory that uses farm animals to satirize the Russian Revolution and the rise of Stalinism. The book was rejected by several publishers during World War II, due to its criticism of the Soviet Union, a wartime ally of Britain. Once published, however, it was a massive success. The phrase, "all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others," became a symbol of political hypocrisy worldwide. 1984. Published in 1949. Orwell's masterpiece, 1984, came just a year before his death. It presents a dystopian future where a totalitarian regime led by Big Brother uses surveillance, propaganda, and thought control to dominate every aspect of life. Concepts like doublethink, thought crime, Newspeak, and Big Brother is watching you have entered everyday language and continue to influence discussions about government, technology, and freedom. Personal life and health. Orwell married Eileen O'Shaughnessy in 1936. The couple adopted a son, Richard, in 1944. Sadly, Eileen died during surgery in 1945. Orwell was heartbroken and increasingly plagued by tuberculosis, which he had likely contracted in the 1930s. In 1949, just months before his death, Orwell married Sonia Brownell. He died on January 21, 1950, at the age of 46. Legacy. George Orwell's life was a relentless quest for truth, justice, and clarity. He challenged totalitarianism, exposed the dangers of unchecked power, and gave voice to the voiceless. His work continues to influence writers, thinkers, and political activists across the globe. Orwell once said, "In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act." And that is exactly what he did with every word he wrote. George Orwell wasn't just a novelist. He was a prophet of the modern age. His life, marked by personal sacrifice, political awakening, and moral courage, remains an inspiration to those who believe in freedom and honesty. In a world still wrestling with surveillance, censorship, and fake news, Orwell's message rings louder than ever.